So today, here on the steps of the Texas State Capitol, we're gathering for the very first ever commemoration of National Missing Persons Day in this place of public service and community. I want to extend a heartfelt welcome to all of you who have joined us, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your morning to be here. To the families of the missing loved ones, some of whom sit behind me and some of whom are in the crowd, thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage, for your presence, and for sharing part of your journey with us today. I can assure you folks that this is going to be a very emotional ceremony, and I do appreciate you being here and sharing your time. To the law enforcement partners who work tirelessly every day, including the Texas Rangers who are represented here today, other local, state, and federal agencies, including the FBI, the Texas Attorney General's Office, who are here as well, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service and your steadfast commitment. I also want to recognize Heidi Prather, who's with the State Missing Persons Clearinghouse Coordinator. And Sabrina Dunn, who is the State Amber Alert Coordinator. Thank you for being here. We may have to get those chainsaws shut off. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, whoever's around. To the search and rescue teams who are represented here, the victim advocates, the nonprofits, and the volunteers here with us, your dedication multiplies the possibilities of hope. And to everyone who has cared enough to be here, we welcome you with gratitude. National Missing Persons Day was established to draw public attention to the thousands of missing persons cases that affect communities across this country, and to show support for the families left with unanswered questions. You're going to hear a couple of those stories here in a little bit. If those stories don't touch you and motivate you to continue your mission, then nothing will. Part of building these connections and advancing these efforts is having tools that help investigators and families work together. The National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, or NamUs, was created in the mid-2000s to be a nationwide clearinghouse, bringing information, technology, and collaboration to bear on these cases. Because of systems like NamUs and the hard work of countless professionals and volunteers, we can put numbers beside what would otherwise be invisible. As of recent reports, there are tens of thousands of individuals actively listed as missing in NamUs. It's almost 30,000. On any given day, roughly 80,000 people go missing in the United States. I want you to let that sink in for a minute. 80,000 people every day go missing. If every person standing here today became someone's missing loved one, we would still be looking for hundreds more. That's how large this issue is and how deeply it touches our communities. Most missing people do eventually return home. Many are found quickly, but way too many remain missing without answers, and that is why we stand here today. To remember, to honor, to unite, and to commit to continued action and awareness. Thank you for being here. Your presence matters. It brings visibility. It honors the missing, and it strengthens the collective resolve to keep looking, to keep hoping, and to keep caring. We are honored to have some speakers with us today who will share their stories in hopes that it motivates you to keep searching and to never lose hope. I've been honored to meet some of these people over the past couple of weeks. And I now consider them all very good, very close friends. Some up here I've known for several years and met under circumstances that I wish I never would have known them. Joanne Lowitzer. So National Missing Persons Day is observed every February 3rd. It originated from the determined efforts of Joanne. Her 16-year-old daughter, Alexandria, who goes by Allie, disappeared in April 2010 in Spring, Texas, and she remains missing to this day. That prompted Joanne to become an advocate for the designation of February 3rd as an annual Missing Persons Day. In 2018, Joanne achieved success by establishing February 3rd as being formally recognized and observed as National Missing Persons Day across the United States. Joanne continues to look for her daughter and volunteers for the Texas Center for the Missing and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, as well as Texas EquuSearch. Please welcome Joanne.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for organizing this event to help bring much needed awareness for our missing person cases. I wish this was a topic of discussion that everyone would speak about. I've always wondered why some cases get national attention while others don't. It's been a struggle of mine for these past almost 16 years. I can only hope that my small changes make a difference. This past January 13th marked 30 years since we lost Amber Hagerman, the little girl whose legacy became the Amber Alert system. Because of her, thousands of children have been brought home. But as the mother of a missing child, now adult, I stand here to speak for the ones who didn't get that immediate alarm, the ones who are still waiting to be found. My daughter Allie stepped off her school bus on April 26th of 2010 and vanished. It was going to be her first time I let her walk to work. She promised me that she'd be safe, but she wasn't. And simply vanished. She was labeled a runaway from that day, and I've been fighting that for almost 16 years. Today is her birthday. She would now be 32 years old. She's been missing for half of her life. Aton Pates vanished from the streets of New York 47 years ago, and now we honor him with National Missing Children's Day on May 25th. Adam Walsh was abducted from the mall 45 years ago. To honor him, we now have Code Adam and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We all know their names, but why? Because their parents didn't give up, and the media helped push their voices. Their age and circumstance was tragic. But what about the missing teens and adults? Why are their stories sometimes pushed aside? Well, I've been screaming for 16 years. I'm stressed and tired, but like them, I will never give up. They inspired me to keep pushing for attention they deserve, to get these missing persons cases solved. When my daughter Allie went missing from Spring in 2010, she wasn't a headline, she was a statistic. She was labeled a runaway. Often when a person goes missing, society or law enforcement profile them by their image or their lifestyle, searching for convenient definitions to explain away a tragedy. It reminds me of a quote from The Breakfast Club. You see us as you want to see us, in the simplest terms, in the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is in each of us is a brain, an athlete, and a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. By the way her case was treated, we sure felt like it. She was an artist, an athlete, a Girl Scout, a singer, a daughter, and a 16-year-old teenager with the whole world inside of her that a single missing person flyer can never capture. We must stop looking at missing persons through the lens of who we think they were and start seeing them for the irreplaceable lives they are. Please help us keep her memory alive. If you have any information, contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children or reach out to me directly through my website or social media. Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Melissa Turnquist. Melissa is the CEO of the Texas Center for the Missing. Melissa has 20 years of community education, nonprofit development, and training experience. As CEO of Texas Center for the Missing, she is responsible for board development, marketing, volunteer coordination, community outreach, and fund development. Ms. Turnquist serves as the Harris County Child Abuse Task Force Board, the Human Trafficking Advisory Council, serving Harris County, and chairs the Kinsman Generosity Team. Melissa?
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you for everyone who is here today. It is truly my honor and privilege to serve as CEO of Texas Center for the Missing, and I just want to say, Joanne, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being an advocate for every single searching family, and thank you for being an inspiration to all of us every single day. Texas Center for the Missing is Houston's Amber Alert provider for Greater Houston. Today we come together as a community to celebrate and recognize and observe National Missing Persons Day, and I want to thank Texar especially for making today happen. Many people may wonder, what is Texas Center for the Missing? We were founded in 2000 after our founder's son, Gabriel Lester, went missing. He was 17 years old at a private school here in Austin. And the way Doreen, our founder, describes it, she thought Kojak was gonna show up on her door, and within 45 minutes, Gabe was going to be home. And like all of you here in this field, because of the vast numbers of missing persons, because Gabe was 17, they just figured he'd be coming home on his own pretty soon. Sadly, Doreen didn't know at that time that she should have shared that Gabe was battling depression and that he had started a new medication. And as many of us know, if you have suicidal ideation and you don't have the energy to act on those thoughts, sometimes when you first start some antidepressants, you have the energy then to act on it. After a 3-month search, Gabe's body was found, and Doreen desperately wanted to create something to help searching families, because when the worst happens, you don't know what to do when you're in a state of panic. And so she founded Gabriel's Gifts, and we changed our name to Texas Center for the Missing several years ago. And what our goals are is we want to impact the issue of missing persons, so we do prevention education. We are a community partner with NCMEC where we bring the NetSmarts internet safety training into the community for all ages. We want to prepare law enforcement on what the laws are for missing persons and support them each and every day, not only through training, but also to be on call 24/7 to activate amber, silver, endangered missing persons and clear alerts in the 14-county Houston Galveston region. And then finally, respond is our third pillar. And our case managers on call 24/7 to help searching families know what to do next. What can they do while law enforcement is doing the essential investigation piece of the puzzle? What can families do to help advocate for their loved one through the media and everything else and all the other opportunities? So our mission is to bring hope and healing to the missing and their families through crisis intervention, prevention, and community education. We serve the missing, law enforcement partners, and searching families. For anyone who is searching for a missing loved one, I want to invite you to join us at Missing in Southeast Texas Day on May 2nd, starting at 10 a.m. at the Children's Assessment Center in Harris County. While the title says Missing in Southeast Texas, anyone searching for a missing loved one is invited to come. It's a one-stop shop. You can report your loved one missing. You can have DNA swabs taken and entered into NamUs. You can connect with other searching families at a support group. We're going to have a DNA panel on how DNA is utilized to bring those loved ones home. We'll have an age progression artist if your loved one has been missing for 4 years or longer, whether they're a child or an adult. The forensic artist will then make an age progression artwork so that whatever your loved one looks like now potentially can be put out into the community. And then we close the day with a support group for searching families that's closed to everyone except for our case manager, a grief counselor, and the families themselves. So please do join us. Follow us on social media. Share that event with everyone you know who might be looking for a missing loved one. One of the most powerful things about events like today and Missing in Southeast Texas Day, a DNA sample provided by a sibling a few years ago at Missing in Southeast Texas Day resulted in a match to a 47-year-old case. And we don't say closures, we do say answers. And so that family, after 47 years, received those answers, and it just goes to show community collaboration like today's event truly works. Last year alone, through the efforts of Texas Center for the Missing's case manager and emergency alert specialist, we were able to reunite 61 families as a direct result of the efforts of these very caring individuals. And thank you for that. And that's just a drop in the bucket. In our primary service area, over 13,000 individuals were reported missing. Most of those folks came home. We together today are going to continue to help families find answers. We at Texas Center for the Missing are committed to help families take those next steps in finding their missing loved one by sharing flyers across our social media channels, coordinating media events, and connecting left behind families with networks so we can bring them home. Everybody here, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, please stay connected on social media. Those missing persons flyers do bring people home. I really want to recognize all the search and rescue volunteers that are here that give up their time and go into dangerous conditions and do help people find the answers they're so desperately seeking. I do want to make an appeal to the community. There's two things I want everyone to walk away here from. Number one, there's no 24-hour waiting period to report a missing person. Thank you to popular television shows. This is a misunderstanding for a lot of us. It doesn't matter if that's a child or an adult. And the other thing I really want to advocate for, if you have a missing loved one, when you're in a state of panic, do not put your personal information to get tips. Be sure you have the law enforcement agency's number on there. We do not want families to be re-victimized by bad actors who are going to try to take advantage of you. We want to protect you. Be sure you have that law enforcement agency information on there, not only to protect yourself, but also we as civilians don't necessarily know how to accept those tips and get the information out of that one-time caller because they may never call again. So please do remember that, and if you have someone you love who is searching for a missing loved one, share that information as well. If you'd like to get connected with Texas Center for the Missing, our website's centerforthemissing.org. We'd love to either have volunteers, connect people who need resources. We're here to help. And I just want to say thank you for your time, and I'll turn the mic back over to our next set of speakers. Thank y'all so much.
Our next speaker is Chuck Flieger. Chuck is an associate employee with the National Criminal Justice Training Center. providing subject matter expertise and instruction in child abuse and response, and also search and canvas operations in child abductions. Chuck currently serves as the Executive Director of the Amber Alert Network Brazos Valley, a regional nonprofit in Central Texas that focuses on local missing children issues, public education, and partnering with local law enforcement and other responders in alerting, response, and investigative readiness. He has served as a regional Amber Alert coordinator since 2003. Chuck retired as an assistant chief of police from the College Station Police Department, where he served for over 30 years and completed his career in law enforcement with over 34 years of total service with College Station and the United States Army Military Police. I had the privilege of serving in the U.S. Army in the same unit with Chuck almost 40 years ago. And in a strange twist, he and I look exactly the same as we did 40 years ago. So please welcome Chuck Fleeger.
I'd like to first say thanks for the opportunity to say a few words here today in recognition of National Missing Persons Day. Thank you to everyone who stepped up and made this observation event possible. Thank you for being here today. While today is designated as a day of remembrance, it is important to acknowledge that the reality is that family and loved ones of the missing live with the unknown every single day. I'm blessed to work with the Amber Alert Network Brazos Valley, a regional missing persons nonprofit organization, and we exist to provide for the missing and those who seek them through effective notification, response, education, and family services. As Joanne had indicated, the Amber Alert was created after the tragic abduction and murder of 9-year-old Amber Hagerman in Arlington, Texas on January 13, 1996, and the Amber Alert was named in honor of her. So born out of this tragedy, the Amber Alert has expanded to all 50 states and many U.S. territories and has safely recovered over 1,200 children, including over 240 as a direct result of the utilization of wireless emergency alerts or cell phone alerting technology. While our organization was originally created to assist local law enforcement and carries the name of Amber Alert, we have recognized that not every missing person case involves a child, and not every missing child qualifies for an Amber Alert. Just because that case doesn't qualify for a named alert does not mean that we should not act. These cases involve real people, loved ones who were missed, and who deserve to be searched for. The late Dr. Kathy Taylor, a forensic anthropologist from the state of Washington, in discussing her work to help identify human remains, said of these victims, "Everybody matters, everybody is loved, and everybody is missed. We can't control all of the outcomes, but what we can control is our readiness and willingness to come together, identify how we can help, and then commit to doing all that we can until the truth is known." Thank you.
Our next speaker is Limi Kang Sofer. She serves as the Executive Director with the Missing Children Division and over the Texas Regional Office for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, where she leads national case management efforts and major initiatives supporting missing and vulnerable children. With decades of dedication, striving to protect people as a prosecutor and championing child safety throughout her career at NCMEC, she has been a steadfast advocate for those in need and has worked to strengthen the systems that safeguard children across law enforcement, child welfare, and communities. Please welcome Limi.
Thank you for the introduction, Patrick, and thank you all for being here. As Patrick and everybody else mentioned, we are here to raise awareness, and so we appreciate everybody coming and taking time out of your busy days to be here. It really is recognizing and honoring every missing individual, child, teen, adult, whose absence leaves a hole in the lives of the people who love them, just like Joanne mentioned. So today is about awareness and reminding communities that every missing person matters. I am equally honored to be here representing the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, otherwise known as NCMEC. I'm equally proud to be here to serve Texans. Only one of 3 regional offices is here, right here in Texas and in Austin. And so with our headquarters in Virginia, we bring national strength to local communities and local passion such as yours to a national effort, and a very important one. NCMEC is often invited into people's lives on their very worst day, the moment when a parent realizes that their child is missing, when fear rushes in, when time feels suspended, and when nothing in the world matters more than finding their child. Our center exists for that moment and for every moment that follows. NCMEC was designated by Congress to serve as the National Clearinghouse, and since 1984, we have worked to ensure that no family ever has to face this alone. Our mission is rooted in a simple belief, and that every child deserves to be safe, every family deserves support, hope, and answers. So the theme today is awareness and hope. The work of our center is really not abstract, it is deeply personal. It is answering the phone at all hours of the night. By our call center, they operate around the clock 365 days a year. They listen to a parent's voice tremble as they give a description of what their child was wearing. It is reminding families again and again that they are not alone. When a child is first reported missing, the clock starts ticking. But so does something else, and that is a network of people who care. Our case managers, a few who came today to support the event and the mission, they work alongside law enforcement and families from the very first moments that a child is reported missing to us. They help assess risk and they guide next steps. There was a lot of talk about Amber Alerts. The Amber Alert system originated here in Texas, just like Joanne and Chuck described. Just in terms of NCMEC's piece in that when law enforcement issues an Amber Alert, we're notified. And then we play a critical role in getting that information out there, rapidly redistributing each alert to a network of secondary distributors. But as we talked about today too, and as Joanne mentioned, Amber Alerts are only one piece of this work. Most missing child cases are quieter. They don't always make the news, but they are just as important. One of the most visible tools that we use are posters, and those are images of the missing child. We share them across communities, we share them on social media. We started out as the Milk Carton Organization, but today, NCMEC uses today's technology to amplify what has been at the heart of our mission. The hope that it's one pair of eyes, just one person, will see a poster, will see an image and say, I recognize that child. And we've seen those successes. Another powerful tool of NCMEC's is Team Adam, named after Adam Walsh, who was also mentioned. When communities are overwhelmed by a high-risk missing child case, Team Adam consultants can deploy and stand shoulder to shoulder with first responders and remind families and agencies alike, you don't have to do this alone. So for some families, like we're hearing today, answers unfortunately do not come quickly. Some wait months, some wait years, some wait decades, and NCMEC never forgets about those children. So through forensic imaging, through age-progressed photos, through our support of long-term cases, NCMEC continues to search for children, even long after others may have stopped looking. Every updated image, every renewed lead sends a powerful message to families. Your child still matters, and so do you. But the work of NCMEC is not only about finding missing children, it's also about honoring families. The professionals who do this work understand that families are really carrying unimaginable grief, fear, and uncertainty. Through the work of our family advocacy specialists and dedicated parent and family peer Team Hope volunteers, they approach every interaction with empathy, patience, respect. They listen and they guide. And when a child is found, whether it's a joyful reunion or a heartbreaking outcome, NCMEC remains there. We have family support and survivor services to help navigate families with what comes next. This work is hard, it's emotional, it requires incredible dedication, but it's also filled with moments of hope, and hope is why we're here. A phone call that brings good news, a child walking back through the front door, or a family finally getting answers after years of waiting. These moments are why we are all here while you are here. These moments are why NCMEC and the organizations up here show up every single day. And this is a mission that is not something that we can do alone. It takes partnership. It takes communities like this one. It takes people who care, just like you all here, who speak up and spread awareness and support this work. So I really end with heartfelt thanks for everybody here for caring, for being here, standing with us, and to every single partner out there, to every single team who works tirelessly to bring missing people home, to helping ensure that every missing person is seen and every family supported, and no one is ever forgotten. Thank you so much.
So a big part of this process is the university systems that support the investigative side and the identification side. Texas State University is represented here. Thank you both for being here. Our next speaker is Mark Pooley. He's the Director of Investigative Support for the Center for Human Identification at the University of North Texas Health Science Center in Fort Worth. In this position, he assists law enforcement and medical examiners in identifying unidentified human remains and missing persons cases through DNA technologies. He joined CHI in March of 2023. Mark?
Good morning. I'm excited to be here. I'm originally from Arizona. I've been here for about a year and a half, and I'm still learning how big Texas is. And I'm honored to be standing in front of the Capitol to all of you people here today. Just like Patrick said, I work with the University of North Texas. It's called the Center for Human Identification. We're a DNA lab. And to get a little bit of understanding of the significance of DNA testing is today you've heard a lot of things of trying to be proactive or during an investigation. But what happens when law enforcement, they come to is called the impasse. They don't know what else to do. This is where we come in, DNA testing. I'm retired law enforcement out of Arizona. I worked with the Tempe Police Department. I worked homicide and missing persons and other big investigation departments. So I've been in the shoes of a lot of these law enforcement officers where they don't know what to do. Now that I've been in this role for about 3 years, I even look back at my own cases and I said, man, I should have done this or this different. But it takes education and knowledge and training to bring these resources and technology into an investigations. Now, a little bit the significance of our center. And I want you to put this in perspective nationally. There's over 600 plus DNA labs in the United States, public and private. Now, there are only 205 of those labs that are law enforcement, accredited, and this is the key part, CODIS participants, 205. Now, these 205, they do two types of DNA technologies. One is called short tandem repeat, STRs, and then YSTRs, which comes through the paternal, the father's line. All 205 labs can do that. But there's a third technology that only 5 of those labs can do, and that's called mitochondrial DNA testing. Those labs are the FBI, New York City, Minnesota, California DOJ lab, and us here in Fort Worth, Texas. That's the significance of CHI. Now you may say, well, what's the significance of mitochondrial DNA testing? It's for the graded samples. So I know Texar is you guys go and you find these remains. Some of them have been missing or unidentified for years, if not decades. And that's where MITO comes in. I won't give a science thing, but just a real quick breakdown is if you know the DNA, it's like a helix, right? But it's open on both ends. That means it gets broken down, degraded very quickly. But in one cell, you can have hundreds, if not thousands, of mitochondrial DNA, which is a circular, which is hard to break. Now I'm going to deviate a little bit from that. I'm also Native American. I'm Navajo and Hopi. And in my community, nationally, there's a movement called Missing and Murdered Indigenous People. If you see a red handprint, this is what it stands for. It's so big in our Indian country that it actually even started in Canada. There's so many missing Indigenous people. But this is the key. It is the community, the nonprofits, that make the difference. And I know this because that's what I've been doing. When I reach out to nonprofits and the community, the grassroots, the families first, because they have a vested interest in their missing loved one. And that makes a difference. A lot of times government agencies, they want to start from the top down. It never works. The communication gets lost as it goes down. Now this program that I have been a part of is called the Missing Unidentified Human Remains Program, MUR. And it's actually funded by the Department of Justice, the Bureau of Justice Assistance. It was a national program. It's about to be over. So in the past 3 years, I've been going nationally in Indian country trying to collect family reference samples to put into CODIS and work with medical examiners to enter unidentified human remains, we call it UHRs, into CODIS. In 3 years, we have so far identified 57 people, which is amazing because it's hard to even get one sample in Indian country. Now, our oldest sample is a man out of Oklahoma, out of Cherokee Nation, 44 years unidentified. We have a Muskogee Creek woman, 41 years, an Apache woman out of Arizona, 41 years, and it goes down even back. So one of the things I do want for the families that are here is do not give up hope. That's all you have. But I promise you, as you bring law enforcement to the knowledge of technology such as DNA, it is a game changer. That is how you're able to find these unidentified long-term missing person cases. One of the things that I'm learning as I'm doing this work is we have a large population of missing migrants all along the border. CHI and its foresight, they were able to say, hey, how do we identify these remains? And so it's been in a 10-year process working with the Department of State and different Central American countries. But we created, by using the CODIS software, it's called a humanitarian database. In that time that we've been doing that, we have identified 110 people. Now you have to imagine, well, how do you get family reference samples from families in Central America, Mexico? It's done through the consulates. What I'm hoping to share, or I'm hoping I'm conveying this, is we have to collect family reference samples. This is for law enforcement now here in Texas. I told you the significance of UNT, of how we have our lab. I come from Arizona. We have the Department of Public Safety lab, DPS, but it's not free. And they only do major crimes. Here, we specifically look for missing, unidentified. Doesn't matter if it was a crime or not. If they're missing, we could do it. So these are for the families. If you have not given your DNA, please reach out to your case agent and demand it. Say, I need to give my DNA, and this is what you say. I want it entered into CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, which is entered into that. It's run by the FBI. Your sample will not be compared to crime scenes, sexual assault kits. It will only be compared to unidentified human remains, the missing person part of CODIS. Now I want to talk a little bit about some of the work that when I go and I talk to large groups like this, especially to the Native people, there's always one hand, usually my own people. And they'll say, Mr. Pooley, question and answer, our people, we don't want to give our DNA. We don't trust the government, law enforcement, academia, and I get it. They say it's cultural. They have all these different things. And then I tell them, I say this, I don't have an answer that would academically answer that question. But us as natives, we learn by stories. We're storytelling people. So let me tell you a true story. Before I got this job, I had my own nonprofit. That's why I love nonprofits. And there was a family that their brother and son had been missing for about 10 years. I had to dissolve my nonprofit to work here. And so when I got this position, that family called me. I had only been on for about 2-3 weeks. And they said, Mr. Pooley, can we give, it was 2 sisters, can we give our DNA? And I said, yes, but it's better to get it from your mom and dad or your brother's children. And then she said, well, Mr. Pooley, my dad is deceased. My brother had no children. It's just me, my sister, and my mom. But she's an elder. She's very traditional. And I know she'll say no. And then I said to her, now she's my friend because I had been working with her for years. I said, well, can you ask her? Just call her. She said, I'll call you back in 1 hour. Less than 10 minutes, she calls me back. And she says, Mr. Pooley, I talked with my mom and she will give her DNA. And I sort of pushed back on my friend. I said, I thought you said that she's an elder, that she's traditional, and that she'll say no. And her voice broke. And she said, my mom said, I will do anything to find my son. Tradition, culture, beliefs, that goes out the windows when you have a missing family member, especially a child. What I want to tell to you, especially the families of the missing, have hope. The beautiful thing about that story, we did collect the family reference samples of the mother, the 2 daughters, and we got a hit. And the son was able to come home. My friends, DNA technology, don't be scared of it. It works, it's real, and it will change the whole investigation. I know one of the speakers says there is no, when someone's found, we call it a resolution. It got resolved, we sort of now we know where they are. My friends, I talk too much. I don't want to go past my time. But I want to thank you for coming. I hope afterwards I could talk with many of you and see how we could be a resource for you. Here in Texas, it's all free. DNA testing is all free, so please take advantage of it. And again, please reach out to your case agent to get those samples into CODIS. Thank you.
I heard those kids screaming over there, and there was a part of me that thought maybe we should send somebody over to tell them to quiet down, and then I thought how many families of missing people would love to hear their kids scream one more time like that. So kids, scream away. Have fun. Get your tissues ready, because I know I'm going to need them. So we first heard from Joanne and her story. If that doesn't touch your heart, nothing will. And then we heard from some amazing people that do amazing work for different organizations to support what law enforcement does and what search and rescue teams do, all in the hopes of trying to bring people home. That's all we want to do. These next couple of speakers, like I said, you're going to need your tissues ready for this one. I met Connie Branham when I was still a homicide detective about 5 years ago, and she's who I referenced when I said that I wish I never met her. Connie is married to Jim Branham. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran, and together they are proud parents of Monica and Christopher Branham. Monica born in Austin, and Christopher born in the Netherlands. In June 2020, Christopher went missing for 37 days before we found him deceased in Manor. During this devastating time, the Branham family was deeply supported by countless individuals who searched for Christopher, and they remain profoundly grateful, especially to the Round Rock Police Department, the Texas Rangers, and Texar volunteers. The family later established the Chris Branham Memorial Foundation to support causes that were important to Christopher, including search and rescue and recovery operations. I'm gonna let Connie tell the rest of her story, so please welcome Connie.
Hi, everybody. As Detective Turk, or former Detective Turk, mentioned, my son Christopher was 26 years old when he went missing in June of 2020. Christopher had 2 small children. He was a hardworking young man. He lived life to the fullest. And luckily, he did more in his short 26 years than most did in their entire lifetime. Christopher visited 15 countries, spoke 3 languages. In his free time, he played golf with his dad, and he loved to cook. And he was absolutely the messiest cook ever. Christopher and I talked every single day, often multiple times. So when I didn't hear from him for over 24 hours, I got very worried, and I reported him missing. It took a little bit of convincing because Christopher was 26 years old, but I was able to convince the police that something horrible must have happened to my son because this was totally out of character for him. They started investigating. Detective Turk and the Round Rock Police Department used every possible resource available to them. They did ultimately find lots of evidence, and they determined that Christopher had been robbed and that he had been killed. They arrested the suspects. The suspects, of course, weren't talking, and my son was still missing, and we had no idea where he was. Our family was just absolutely devastated. I mean, I can't even describe it. So, to kind of explain it, the police tells us he's dead, but, you know, we still have hope. After extensive investigations into his possible location, which was determined to be Manor, Round Rock Police Department, under Patrick Turk's lead, requested the assistance of Texar. We had never heard of Texar before that day. Our family met Texar on July 3rd, 2020, for the first time when the first major search took place. Volunteers had traveled from all over the place just to look for Christopher, my son. It was a holiday weekend. It was the height of the pandemic. They left behind their families and their jobs at a moment's notice just to look for my boy. It's hard to describe how much that meant. Searchers and trained canines were outfitted with GPS units to map the search grid. It was 100 degrees that day. My family stood there. We watched drones go up. We watched volunteers to scour fields and shrubs, cornfields, ditches with snakes in them. They looked for the smallest clue. Christopher was not found during that first search, but there were many additional searches after that. And on the days that no organized searches were being done, my husband, Jim, he went to those cornfields where he was supposed to be, where Christopher was supposed to be. And my husband would come home with cuts all over his arms and legs. The corn was 8 feet tall. Our friends, his friends, they took turns going with him. And just imagine, this has been weeks after Christopher went missing. We know he's not going to be found alive. I was terrified that Jim, my husband, would be the one to find him. We desperately wanted to find our son, but I did not want my husband to be the one to find him. He'd been laying in that field in 100 degrees heat for weeks. Christopher was eventually found on July 31st in the middle of a cornfield. A different cornfield than we had originally thought. That night, we were actually able to sleep for the very first time in 37 days. And so was Patrick Turk. He didn't sleep either. Not knowing where your child is devastating. You're in constant fear. Your stomach is in a knot 24/7. All kinds of scary things go through your mind all the time, and you can't sleep. Although the outcome in our case was not what we had hoped for, because we still had that tiny sparkle of hope, that the police was wrong. Finding our son's body gave us some type of closure. Although by the time that Christopher was found, there was no proper goodbye for us. We weren't able to touch his face or hold his hand. Being able to put him to rest meant everything. Others are still missing their loved ones, and some have been missing for years. And I wish no family would ever have to go through that unimaginable pain. But families do. And these families have no other option than to keep going. They keep hoping, keep searching, keep asking for answers, all while going through the most traumatic time of their lives. The families need support, they need understanding, they need resources, which I was so happy to hear from everyone today. I continue to keep the missing and their families in my prayers. I hope that someday their loved ones are found and that they get the answers they need. And over the years, I've met many parents of children that are still missing, and it's so painful. And I see Jason Landry's people are here. No family ever wants to need the help of a search and rescue organization, because it will be during the darkest and most painful time of your life. Before June 2020, we never wondered how ground-penetrating X-ray machines worked. It never crossed our mind that police resources could potentially run out. We can't imagine a family in a similar situation being told that there are no funds or no manpower for searching for their missing loved one. But this is exactly when law enforcement asks for help from search and rescue organizations. And these organizations have so much heart for what they do. Following our son's murder, we went through 2 years of attending separate court hearings for 5 offenders. So many people from the Round Rock Police Department and Texas Search and Rescue TXR attended the sentencing hearing. And this so much let us know that Christopher and what my family went through and have been through and is still going through. It matters. The devastating period of our life that we initially had will always feel like yesterday. We miss him so much. I miss cleaning up the kitchen. Missing people are real people. They're a part of real families. I just want to, say a big thank you to those who are involved in locating the missing, not only for your hard work, but also for continuing to speak with the families. This is so important, even if it's uncomfortable and you don't have new information to share. Stay in contact. And just remember all those sleepless nights that led up to them picking up the phone just to call you. For them, hearing that someone cares already means a lot. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Jonathan McComb, is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I consider him a very dear friend, and he is a volunteer for Texas Search and Rescue. He's got a very important story that he needs to tell. He's going to share his story about his life transformation after heartbreak. In 2015, during a sudden flash flood in Wimberley, Texas, Jonathan tragically lost his wife, Laura, and their 2 young children, Andrew and Leighton. Jonathan was the sole survivor among the 9 people staying in the home. After enduring this unimaginable loss, he turned his pain into purpose. He joined Texar and has volunteered in multiple flood rescue missions, including the Central Texas floods of 2025. Now remarried to Monica and father to a young daughter, Scarlett, Jonathan channels his empathy for grieving families into hands-on work, helping others find peace and hope in the wake of tragedy. Jonathan speaks with authenticity, conviction, and compassion, offering his story not just as testimony, but as a beacon of resilience for others navigating grief. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan McComb.
Thank you, Patrick, and for all those that are here supporting this day of National Missing Persons Day. Law enforcement, the search and rescuers, volunteers that even aren't with an organization, it means a lot to have y'all here supporting and to letting those families know that they are not forgotten, that we're there and we're all there together to continue looking and searching for those that are missing. Like I said, I've been a victim of a tragedy. I've been a customer or client of Texar's and everybody that has ever searched, and now I'm fortunate and blessed to be part of the group as a member and as the board of directors. And so it means a lot to have everybody here supporting and what it means to somebody personally, because I know what it meant like for me when I was in the hospital laying there knowing that I lost my family, and I couldn't do that searching myself, and I didn't really know how big the event was until I got out and everybody started letting me know. But it was a night that I'll never forget, and as we traveled down the river, losing my family members one by one until I was by myself. Finally, self-rescuing 11 miles downriver on a 60-foot wall of water, I got pretty beat up myself, and so I know what it means as I laid there in the hospital to have you folks, Texar, law enforcement, DPS, out there doing what I can't do myself. As a client and customer, I remember walking out of the hospital and going to meet a lot of you folks, and as instructed, even to myself now, that we shouldn't talk to the family members, but we need to be there to do our job, and that's what we're there to do. And just this past July, while we were in Kerrville, Texas, and everything else, I remember folks asking, how can you do this? Why are you doing this? I said, it's because I know what it feels like to be the victim of this tragedy, and I'm here to help, along with countless others and thousands of people that were in the area, to help those families that couldn't help themselves. And so now on the board of directors and a member of Texar, to give back, it's just an honor and a blessing to find other individuals that are there in a moment's notice, as they shared prior, to leave their families and loved ones behind, to go into danger to help. I remember that morning, July 4th, hugging my 5-year-old daughter and say, I'm going to help the folks in the flood. And she said, you know, like you were in, Daddy? And I said, yes. But I'm going to come home. And that was one of the hardest hugs I've had in a long time, to walk away from my daughter and my wife knowing that I might not come home. And so for those folks and individuals that do that, thank you. And those law enforcement that do it day in and day out, thank you for what y'all do and what y'all serve and who you serve. And so 11 years coming this May 23rd will be the anniversary of the Memorial Flood, but also 11 years that I've been without my daughter. We recovered, my wife, Laura, and my son, Andrew, but we're still missing 2 from the house that I was in, Will Charba and Leighton McComb. And so I know what it means to not have that answer. But I will tell you this right now, through my faith and my Lord and Savior, that one night I was asleep, and finally, and that I had a dream, and it was Leighton, and I was talking to her very close, and with Laura and Andrew in the background, and a field of green, laughing and playing and having a good time. And I asked Leighton, I said, you know, where are you? You know, where are you? And she said, you know, I'm okay, Daddy. I got picked up by a man in the river. And I said, you know, who picked you up in the river, Leighton? And she said, Jesus. And so I hope that there's the faith out there that for everybody else that I have, and know that the Lord and Savior is there for everybody. And to know that He's there to support us, along with everybody out there and everybody behind us. Another instance, 2 years later, you know, we continued doing scientific research with different organizations, and I was able to bring 2 big excavators down. Many of y'all were there on the river that day with me on the Blanco, and we were able to dig a bunch of the river out, and I actually walked up and found Leighton's blanket that day. And so that's something that I still have in the safe at my house right now, is just a little piece of her that I can hang on to forever. And so to those that are still out there missing, to those families, just because you don't see folks like Texar, other search and rescue groups, other law enforcement out there every single day in the bushes and in the trees and in the trenches, that doesn't mean we're not still working behind the scenes on computers and research and everything else to try and figure out, you know, where we need to be next to bring those answers home. And so I'm so glad and blessed to be a part of this group, and to know that, you know, that we are all collectively working on those answers and on that progress, and not standing in the way of it. So thank you all very much for what y'all do, and thank you, Patrick, for putting all this together.
So what we've heard from all of our speakers so far is one word that resonates with all of them. It's hope. And this next story is unbelievable. We're going to hear from Melissa Highsmith and her sister Victoria Highsmith. In 1971, at just 22 months old, Melissa was kidnapped. She was a young woman taken from the life that she knew. After 51 years, she was finally reunited with her biological family. Her story is one of resilience, hope, and the enduring human spirit, reminding us that even after decades, families can be found and lives can be reclaimed. So there is hope, and we can't ever let go of that. So please join me in welcoming Melissa Highsmith and her sister, Victoria.
I'm honored to be here, speaking to all of y'all. Okay, I'm nervous, so bear with me.